Hello, and thank you for joining us here on the Neutral Zone. I am Phil Milani, joined as always by my trusty sidekick, my partner in crime. Really, the best way to describe this person is my everything. It's at Eric Dalala.
Phil, great to be with you.
As always, Eric, it's great to be with you.
End of an era, really.
Why did you say that?
The off-season program's over.
Oh, that is true, yeah.
And
but
it's your last
going.
podcast.
It doesn't really matter.
They didn't tell you yet?
Nobody's told me that.
Okay,
no.
well then we'll...
It's too successful to stop.
That's true.
Yeah, it just prints money pretty much. So
this was the biggest asset the team had.
We can't really. Yeah, exactly. The ownership group spent a lot of time with us talking about the podcast, wanting to know, how valuable of an asset.
People love the Neutral Zone.
Yeah, they do. They do. Eric, it is the end of the off-season program, though.
That's right.
The players currently partaking in some sort of a field day, off-field activity when they're supposed to be grinding, Eric.
And we're going to talk about it for 95 minutes.
Yeah.
I asked you, Phil. I said, can we go play? And you said, we got work to do.
Yeah.
We got to do this podcast.
Yeah. But this really isn't work. So
that's true.
This is sort of our version of a field day.
We do it every week.
Yeah, exactly. We have a lot of fun.
No, Phil, I'm not going to talk about the field day at all.
Really? Don't you think they should be focused and in meetings and stuff like that, or what do you think?
Nothing could be less important than one practice day.
Yeah.
In June.
Yeah.
A bunch of guys barely practiced yesterday.
That is true. Some of the veterans were not fully immersed into the practice.
I mean, it is on the list of things that will impact this season, Phil.
Yeah.
That could not be any lower.
Well, let me ask you this. How important do you feel...
That's just below whether they serve beef or bison burgers for Burger Bar.
Veggie burger.
Yeah. Field day is just below that.
Uh-huh.
But it's above what type of paper towels they have in the restrooms.
Oh.
That's about where that ranks.
I'm just sort of curious. What do you think are some of the different types of paper towels?
There's all sorts. There's brown paper towels. There's white paper towels. Some are a little bit softer.
Some are softer, yeah.
Some come out of like a touchless machine that are like...
Yeah.
Some you got to pull out.
Some on the side as like a little wheel.
Crank.
Yeah.
So
old school.
That is just less important than whether or not the Broncos did field day, but it's field day is less important than the burgers.
I was going to ask you, how much importance do you place on team camaraderie and bonding? Is that important to you or no?
Yeah, of course
it's important to have some fun with your teammates.
It's important. I think you got to build a connection. You got to want to go to war with these guys. You got to want to lay yourself down for the guy next to you. You got to make a play for these people. You know, if you don't have that connection, it's not who's going to dig deep.
Yeah.
So we heard Justin Simmons talk for 3 minutes about the value. He said the biggest value of
being where your feet are.
Right, and communication. But he also said the biggest value of the OTAs was bonding.
Yeah.
These guys have practiced a lot over the it's been 9 weeks essentially.
It's been a long time.
They've spent a lot of time in the meeting rooms. They've done extra meetings.
They do the regular meetings and then they do the extra meetings.
Right. They've done a lot of practicing.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned with one. Some NFL teams were done last week.
Yeah. But they're trying to install the NASA offense.
That's true.
So they kind of need this extra.
They're going to have a lot of time during training camp.
They're also going to do some extra work in Southern California.
You get a warm-up game against the Seahawks. No, I'm just kidding.
You know what's interesting is a lot of coaches and players have made reference to that Seahawks game. They're not just saying we're going to be ready for training camp or we're going to get the season started. No, they're they've addressed this as specifically the Seahawks.
Yeah,
don't hide it from them.
Yeah, when people are I don't even know what game's next week. Yes, you do.
Yeah,
you do.
Yeah.
You don't know, but
I know.
They know.
Look, I love the schedule just as much as anybody.
Yeah.
Except you.
Right.
Yeah.
How many games do you think, how many of the scheduled games do you think you could name in a row?
Seattle.
Yeah.
And then Seattle again.
Oh, got it.
And more Seattle. That's all.
That's all you're focused on. Yeah. One at a time. Okay.
Yeah. No, I could probably Is week 2 San Francisco?
Okay, well, you are an expert. You
Sunday
wonder
Night Football.
why people.
No, that's week 3.
You wonder why people blast you,
I don't care about the schedule right now.
but you should know the schedule.
You can you? Okay, all 17 games.
Houston is week 2.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That one's you just kind of forget about that one. You know, then San Francisco Sunday Night Football. Then is it Thursday night after that? Indy.
Is it? We don't. This is not good podcasting.
There's a lot of primetime games. Let's go all the way 1 through 17 here, Eric, and the dates, please, and times, if you could.
Maybe next week.
That's why people blast Eric Dalala on this podcast.
They don't blast me.
Yeah, they blast
love
you
me.
a lot.
They love me.
You want to get to some blasts?
Let's do it.
Of course, you can watch the Neutral Zone on the Broncos official YouTube page.
Yeah.
We like to read the comments there, Eric, because this is an interactive show. Okay, this is an interactive show. We like to read the comments. Last week, we got into best fruit. Okay,
We did.
Nectarine is what I said. You kind of hedged a lot.
I hedged a
You
lot.
didn't really know what you were talking about. William Hayes says, these guys need to go to Grand Junction and get the best peaches on the planet. And then he capitalized best peaches.
Who said that?
This is William Hayes.
William
And then
Hayes.
also capitalized planet.
Oh, William Hayesville kind of he cursed me
Oh, really?
because I was flying back from the East Coast last week,
From the south.
Minnesota, East Coast.
Oh, the Great North.
Yeah, and my flight was diverted to Grand Junction because of weather.
Some weather.
And as I was sitting there on the tarmac for hours, I thought,
Be nice to have a Palisade Beach
the
right now.
YouTube commenter said I should go to Grand Junction, and I did. I didn't get a peach.
I think both of us have had Palisade Peaches.
Of course.
Of course, in Grand Junction, the hot days and cool nights create a nice atmosphere for the peaches to develop sugar. Okay? This is the same thing in winemaking with grapes.
Uh-huh.
You want hot days, cool nights. Of course, that's what makes Palisade Peaches so delicious. Where do they grow the best nectarines, though? That's a place I'd like to go visit.
You're more of a hot nights kind of guy, aren't you?
Bill Bell L.
Okay.
Not boring, but also not the most exciting podcast.
I'd agree.
What do you think?
I think that's quite fair.
He left several comments,
Yeah.
I should say. He says, do not sleep on Drew Lock. Given a fair chance in Seattle, he could, in fact, ball out, is what he said.
We're not talking about Drew Lock.
Okay. Seth Griffin says, good God, can we please replace Phil? I love the Broncos. I love that he loves them. However, he sucks, is what he says. What do you think?
How many U's?
A lot of
U's.
A lot of U's, yes. Alan Newland. I personally like the unpredictability of the shows showing up. I keep the notification off so it just surprises me when I see it on the feed.
It's like a little treat.
Yeah, but we're back to Thursdays.
We're back.
We're back to
We
Thursdays, okay? Kyle DB.
Okay.
Maybe he plays defensive back. I don't know.
Could be.
Phil is the inner me that always believes we have a shot at winning.
Yep.
Eric is the inner realistic me who brings it back to earth. Perfectly balanced. That's because you're always grumpy.
Is that what that means?
You're grumpy.
Logical, emotional.
Grumpy. Yeah. Let's see.
There's one about.
Jesse Caffarel.
Uh-huh.
I love Trevor Siemian, Eric. They did him
Same.
dirty. Last Broncos QB with a winning record.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah, that's
Teddy.
inaccurate.
Teddy
It's inaccurate.
had a winning record.
But you don't take any shots at Trevor.
I guess
please.
yeah, because
Okay.
it's not accurate.
Brendan Young, has anyone ever met someone named Phil that spells their name F-I-L? Yes, that's the way you're supposed to spell
Some good replies to that comment, I think.
It always throws me off how much he talks about his name is spelled non-traditionally, but it's the only way you've ever seen it spelled. Tyler Torres, I know a dude named Fillmore who went by F-I-L. Jesse Carfarel, our friend. F-I-L is definitely traditional. Bob RYB, I agree with you. And then our friend Metambale.
Madambale.
What is it?
Madambale. Something funny?
Pretty sure Phil does this just to be cool, like the preternaturally. What do you think? What do you think that means? Just
What do you think?
naturally cool, right? I think
I think he just added a few letters.
Yeah. Cool Eric, whose name sounds good. What? Whose name sounds a good bit like Eric, but it's leveled up in coolness. I don't know how Metambali writes here.
But then he said something about your name, right?
What Phil doesn't know is that I say F-I-L, Phil, instead of Phil, P-H-I-L, when I say his name. I'm pretty sure it's subtle, but it ticks him off. I love
does.
that.
When people call you Phil instead of Phil, you get mad.
When they say what?
When they say Phil instead of Phil, you get mad.
Phil.
Yeah. Not that.
It's
You don't
Phil.
want it that way. That way's good.
It's Phil.
Right.
It's just Phil.
But it's not Phil.
No, it's not Phil. Metambali. Appreciate the comments there. So Debrade 51, let's ride. Okay, it's pretty good. And I think those are some of the better ones.
Great.
Oh, Jesse Cufferell says...
A lot of comments from Jesse.
we appreciate it, Jesse. Thank you very much. Is Jesse, Jesse, a non-traditional spelling? People usually spell my name as Jesse, Jesse, which is wrong.
No, I think with an E is typical for a guy.
Yeah, but I also think it's not traditional.
Okay. You can be if you want it to be.
I think it's not traditional. We appreciate those comments, Jesse.
We do.
And so that brings you into the non-traditional club.
Welcome.
Is Metambali in the non-traditional club?
Certain. I think that's the traditional. So. Is that the traditional way of spelling Metambali? I think it is.
I'm not sure. Really too early to tell. So some nice blasts there. Please leave a comment if you watch on YouTube. The Broncos official YouTube page. You could comment on Eric's quarter zip.
We're back, baby.
A lot of blue going on here today.
Too much blue?
No, it's good. It's nice.
Too much blue.
It's nice. Eric, we should also mention what we're going to talk about in this show.
I thought we talked about field day.
No, we're not talking about field day. We're going to talk about minicamp.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We're going to name a couple of players who stood out. Some positive surprises, Eric. And then we'll also name a couple of concerns.
Ooh.
Just some general concerns. Nothing that we're going to overreact to.
Right.
Just some sort of, we're going to keep an eye on this.
Okay.
Let's just, not ignore this. This might be, it's kind of like, have you ever stubbed your toe, Eric? And then you're
Never.
like, did I break my toe or is it just kind of injured?
Uh-huh.
And then you're like, God, maybe I did break my toe. This time, I think I really broke it. Have you ever done that?
I kind of move on. I'm just tough. I'm like, sometimes I do that just to feel something.
Because usually when you stub your toe and then you're just sort of like, oh, I stubbed it. But then sometimes it really hurts and you're like, I think I broke it this time.
Oh, right.
This is kind of what we're going to talk about with the Broncos. Like
sometimes when we have a discussion, my brain hurts and I'm just like, this is normal. But sometimes it really hurts and I'm like, Phil broke my brain this time. Like that?
You think I broke it, huh?
Sometimes I really think it's broken.
Is
that similar?
Well, I was going to say, is your brain easily broken?
With you, yes.
Look,
got it. I think I understand the metaphor.
This is like just something to keep an eye
broken?
on. Just something to keep an eye.
Yeah, it's like a normal neutral zone. Just something to keep an eye on.
Gosh.
You can follow us on Twitter at Eric Delalo with an A.
So those are the two things that we're going to talk about.
And some takeaways, right?
And some general takeaways.
Yeah.
I figure that should be
general takeaways.
General takeaways. Thank you very much. So that's what we'll talk about on this week's show. You can get involved in this week's in the neutral zone moving forward. God, you threw me.
Are
off.
You okay?
You really? I think you broke my brain. Actually, yeah.
San Francisco week 2 is just floating around.
Houston is week 2.
Oh.
San Francisco is week 3.
Got it.
Who's week 4?
It's on the road.
Oh, Los Angeles Chargers. Monday Night Football? No. That's a little bit later.
Okay.
Who is it? Oh, the Raiders.
I believe so.
Oh, you think so? You don't even know. Okay. In addition to following us on the Broncos official YouTube page, where you can leave comments and subscribe, you can also get involved in this show a few other ways. Eric,
right.
take it over.
Take it away. You're going to just rest up
I'm just
over
gonna
there.
rest for the rest of this.
You can send us an email, really leave an email, at neutralzoneshow@gmail.com. Type some words. We'll read it here on the air. You can leave a voicemail at 707-NEUTRAL. You don't have to talk to Ben Swanson. Lucky for you.
That's good.
Lucky for you.
That's nice.
We'll play that right here on the air. It's one of our favorite ways to interact with people.
No voicemails this week.
No.
Kind
I
of
don't know
sad.
what's going on.
I kept checking it, refreshing it. Asked Ben Swanson, "Are you sure? Is it broken?" Said no voicemails.
No voicemails. We mentioned the YouTube page. You can leave a comment. You can hit that subscribe button. What does it sound like?
Boop, 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 boop.
That's what it sounds like.
That's what it sounds
Or you
like.
can follow us, interact with us on Twitter, at Eric DeLalla with an A, at Phil Milani with a PH, not an F like Madambali would have you believe.
Yeah, metabolic.
Non-traditional spellings. Then there's a Broncos podcast account that we're trying to access.
Access?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Like we forgot the password, but we're trying to get back in.
Got it. We've been locked out.
We've been locked out. That's
Nice
pretty
job,
much it.
Eric.
You can send
Nice
you
job.
can send a letter to UCL Training Center addressed to Phil.
Yeah.
He'll open it.
Usually those have to get screened by our security
Of course,
department.
you're too famous.
Yeah. And then after they've been screened, it takes a little bit of a delay, but then I get them.
We're just gonna see
is
who's
everything okay?
who's right here.
Is everything all right?
I hope so.
What's going on?
Week 4 Raiders. Boom.
Oh, nice. Then it's the Colts on Thursday night.
Yeah.
Just call me Schedule Master. All right, let's get into our first topic here on this week's Neutral Zone. Eric, some bright spots. Nate, give me a couple of guys that really stood out to you during the Broncos' 2 days of minicamp practices, which were completely open to the media.
Completely open.
Completely open.
There's no portion that wasn't open.
No, they didn't say we're going to close this and then open it or any. No,
Right.
It was open.
I've been impressed with Courtland Sutton all offseason.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He obviously was a Pro Bowler previously.
In his career, yes, he has
Yeah,
been
in 2019.
previously.
Had a nice season. Then
He was not a Pro Bowler last year.
No. I'm not suggesting he was. But he's been a Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
Then he obviously deals with the ACL injury. Last year, never quite found the stride the way you would expect him to. Sometimes when Jerry Jeudy was on the field, he didn't see the targets kind of later in the year. We were kind of like, what's going on here? I've been really impressed with him, and I think that Russell Wilson can help him realize that Pro Bowl potential again. You know, everyone's been like, this can be really, really good for Jerry Jeudy. Yeah. I agree with that, but I think there's something about the way that Courtland plays very similar to like a DK Metcalf type player.
Yeah.
Russell's able to throw that ball, a moon ball.
A moon ball.
Courtland can go up and high point it. He made a play on Tuesday where he elevated between Michael Ojemudia and Kareem Jackson, made a nice play along the sideline. I think he's going to be a red zone threat. I think Courtland Sutton gets back to that 2019 type level of play, over 1,000 yards. I'm impressed with what I saw from him.
I was going to say, Eric, you know I'm out in the field.
Of course.
I'm working the practice. I'm feeling the vibe of things, right?
Yeah, you're snapping the football.
At that point in the practice where you mentioned the Courtland Sutton play, prior to that, the defense had made a nice play. The defense is like sort of a little bit louder,
Yeah.
a little bit more boisterous out there at practice. And for a second there before that play to Courtland Sutton, you could tell that Russell Wilson was like, some of his competitive juices started flowing a little bit. Like there was a little.
Just some of them.
There was a moment there where it looked like he was just like, all right, enough of this.
Let's ride.
It did feel like that being right out there.
Did he say let's ride?
I didn't hear him say let's ride, but,
Okay, but it's possible.
It felt like that. And on that particular play, he just snapped the ball, he pump faked it, and then threw it right into there.
Yeah. Beautiful
Like
throw.
he didn't. I don't think he looked anywhere else.
Beautiful throw.
Like he just took the ball, pump faked, and threw it right into Courtland Sutton. That was a moment where I felt a little bit more like, oh, okay, now this is what I get it. Like the offense is, we'll talk about some concerns later here, but at that moment, it made me feel good about where things are.
Yeah.
Just because you might not be able to tell from where you were standing, but it did seem like Russ had enough of the defense acting that way.
Yeah.
So, can I name a player?
Yeah, of course you can.
I was going to say, I think Albert Ogwebunam.
Okay.
You're welcome. That was really good.
I don't think
That
so.
was really good.
Okwebunam.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay. He had a nice day.
I
Nice
think that
couple of
he's had a
days.
nice offseason.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk about Greg Dulcich and, who's going to be the top tight end. I think that there seems to be a little bit of a chemistry going on there with Russell Wilson. He gets open a lot. He makes a lot of plays in practice, not just during minicamp, but I think this whole offseason he's really responded well to the Broncos taking Dulcich. Dulcich not a full participant in all of these practices here, so Alberto really making the most of his opportunity, I think.
Yeah, Alberto's done some good things, especially in the red zone. It's clear that Russ likes to go to him.
Likes to go to him.
So that's good. He's got to continue to make those catches and be consistent with those opportunities. I still see a little bit of that where
Of course.
consistency isn't there, but yeah, he's had a nice
I think he had a nice offseason.
On the other side of the ball,
Okay.
defense.
Yeah.
I've been really impressed with Dre'Mont Jones.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, he is good at football.
He's good at football. That's what he
good at
told
football.
us.
He's good at football.
He hates questions about how the beginning of the year goes.
Who asked that
I
question?
don't remember.
Yeah.
But I do get the sense that maybe the Broncos playing with more leads, some better depth at edge rusher. Obviously, the secondary is still really good. His ability to disrupt plays, there's just been some times where he's blown right by guys. He's in the backfield immediately.
Yeah.
The Broncos did sort of like a 2-minute drill toward the end of practice on Tuesday, and it ended up being, the defense was called for a penalty. The offense was able to keep the drive going. In reality, Dre'Mont sacked Russell Wilson on that play. And he's just been very disruptive. And hopefully he's able to continue that and do that early in the season because the Broncos could use a big year from him.
So you want him to be good at the beginning of the season,
In the middle?
in the middle of the
And the
season,
end.
and at the end of
Yeah.
the season. Got it.
It's a lot, but I think
That
he
is
can
a
do
lot.
it.
I was going to say it's a little bit hard to really judge the lines
Yeah,
until the pads come on.
of course.
So, but I will agree with you that he seems to be in the backfield often.
In the backfield a lot.
Often, I would say, yeah.
Oh, not a lot, but often.
Often.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that. And then on that side of the ball, I would say one of the bright spots has been Michael Ojemudia. I would say that Pat Surtain, again, said that.
Yep.
That was interesting to me because normally I don't think a guy would just highlight somebody. You know what I mean? They would say, all these guys are out here working hard. We're all like trying to compete, that kind of thing. But he singled out Michael Ojemudia. And I would say that for a guy who's had so many ups and downs to start his career here, Ojemudia seems to be making plays on the ball. He seems to be out, we know he's got the physical ability, and if he can get this defense down and have that confidence, I think that he could be a player for this team.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely the fourth corner, I would say, right now. And it's interesting because last year, like if either Surtain would go into that nickel spot at the beginning of the year or then Kyle Fuller would go in there after Bryce Callahan was hurt. But I would say that Ronald Darby or Pat Surtain is not in at any given time. I would expect Michael Ojemudia to be that second corner as opposed to like K'Wan Williams going outside. Yeah. So you can view him as the fourth corner. You can also view him as like the third outside cornerback.
Yep.
And like you mentioned, for a guy that's had some ups and downs, it's nice to see him rebound. And he was a third-round pick. He's talented.
Yeah.
Certainly a couple of years ago when he was starting as a rookie.
Played a lot.
That's probably not a guy that you want covering Julio Jones, for example. But as a fourth corner, Michael Ojemudia fills that role really well.
He dropped a couple of interceptions that season.
Yeah.
I think that he had
a lot of forced fumbles.
It was hard. I think that just like as a rookie to play as much as he did. The Broncos went out after his rookie season and added a lot of free agent moves in the secondary, and so he didn't play much last year.
Right.
And so for a guy to kind of go through that, some injuries along the way, but for him to now be in this position, I feel like he's been a real bright spot.
Yeah.
So
I'll give you one more, just kind of not a starter, but hard to tell what Nick Bonito's been doing. Greg Dulcich obviously has been hurt the last few days. Hasn't done much, though he did some good stuff before. Damari Mathis, I think, has been
interception yesterday.
Some good pass breakups on Monday. He's impressed me, and I think he might challenge for, whether it's special teams playing time, obviously, but
no, I think definitely
he can get thrown in there, I think, defensively at some point this year, and I think you'd feel okay. He's the rookie that's really stood out the most to me, I think.
Yeah. And like we mentioned, it's hard to judge the lines right now.
Right.
So, really, 7-on-7, that these wide receiver versus DB kind of battles are easier to pay attention to. So, I do think that he has looked bright. I think that he's going to have a jersey on most game days, I would say.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I would say. And we know that he's physically gifted. That's what they really liked with him coming out. But if he could really hone in on his technique, really understand this defense, I do think that he could see some time.
Well, and he's going to get a lot of run, I would think, in the preseason, because I'm imagining you're not going to put Pat Surtain out there a ton in the preseason. No. So, we'll see. I don't know how Nathaniel Hackett's going to do it, but he's kind of that new age type coach where they seem to
Sean McVay doesn't even play any of his starters,
right?
So, what's the point?
What's the point?
But maybe because everything's so new,
right? I'd say there's plenty of time to talk about that.
Yeah, that is true. The preseason is not for a long time. Who's the first preseason game, Eric?
Huh? Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, thank you. I challenged you and you came through. Impressive.
Thanks.
Okay, so those are some of the bright spots here, some players that we think have stood out through the offseason program and in mini camp practices this week here. Eric, let's move on to topic number 2, some areas of concern. Nothing that we're overreacting to, but just some areas that you're going to keep an extra eye on.
Yeah, I think one is like an overarching theme and one is a particular player.
Ooh, okay.
The overarching theme is just the offense has not clicked or had like the dominant days that I thought it would.
Yep.
The first day of OTAs, the offense was dominant in the red zone, and then the defense has really settled in, and the offense, like Tuesday, the offense made its fair share of plays. Russell Wilson found Tim Patrick. He hit Courtland Sutton on the sideline like we're talking about, had a big gain to Albert O. Nathaniel Hackett mentioned that the team blocked up some runs really well. It's hard to tell when they don't go to the ground how good those runs are going to be.
That's true.
But I would say that the defense, we've seen some interceptions from Justin Simmons, Pat Surtain, Michael Ojemudia. There's been some pre-snap issues. Things have been clunky at times. We know it's a complex offense, and the Broncos right. Broncos still have a lot of time left to get this right because they're going to work in the off season between now and July. You've got all of training camp. You got preseason games. But it's just something to keep an eye on in terms of, hey, this might not be firing on all cylinders right away.
Yeah.
And so you just wonder how long is that going to take. And again, what you see week one doesn't mean it's the ceiling of this offense, but I am just interested at some point. I want to see what is the ceiling, because I don't think we've gotten a true indication of what this can look like yet.
Yeah, I think that it's natural for the defense to be a little bit ahead of the offense right now.
Yeah.
This defense is similar to Vic Fangio's defense, and there's a lot of talent on that side of the ball. And
they've played together, the secondaries play together for a long time. Communication's so important.
Huge. So I think that's natural, but I agree with you, Eric. Some of the things, I can't tell you how many times Broncos broke the huddle, got to the line of scrimmage. Either there's a false start or there's some sort of issue where Nathaniel Hackett is just screaming and saying, "Get back in the huddle."
Yeah.
That happened a lot. More than you'd want to see at this point, I think.
Yeah.
But they're working on it. I feel like there's a little level of just trust that, okay, look, Russ is going to figure this thing out. They're going to get all on the same page. And I do think that when the starting offense is really clicking, those things will go away. But yeah, I agree with you.
Well, and another element of it, I think, is that with any system, there comes a point where it just clicks.
Yeah.
And so it could go from what it looks like now to being really efficient very quickly.
Yeah.
And so we'll just have to see when that moment shows up.
Yeah.
It's not like terrible. I don't want to make it seem like it's terrible, but it's not.
Just working on
it's
it.
not like a high flying offense
Yes.
at the moment.
It's not like when Peyton was like in his second, third year.
Right.
Here.
It's not there yet.
It's not quite there yet. But
It's better than it has been.
it can be at times.
Like what we've seen in OTAs or training camp some of the last few years. I'd say it's already better than that.
Yeah. And like I was saying, those kind of concerns about the offense have been sort of there on the back burner. And then when I saw Russ just kind of do that to Courtland Sutton where he was like, enough, it kind of made me feel a little bit.
And he's a gamer.
Yeah, that's true.
The other concern is just some of the injuries that we're seeing. KJ Hamler seemed to be in a really good spot in like April and May.
Yeah.
He's seemingly doing less now than he was then. So I just have a concern. Is he going to be ready?
Yep.
A Randy Gregory, who we haven't seen out there yet, who, Nathaniel Hackett, there was no guarantee from Nathaniel Hackett that Randy Gregory is going to be ready to go to start a training camp, which, again, I don't want to cause too much panic because Nathaniel Hackett he's not really commented on injuries.
Yeah.
He's basically said
He's stayed away from
He's
any
basically
kind of
said
comment.
everybody is day-to-day, everyone we're being cautious with, everybody we're hoping for the best. So it's not like him saying, I don't know if he's going to be ready is like a red flag. But we haven't seen him out there. He's got to get used to this defense. He's learning it, but you got to get used to it on the field.
Yeah.
He is out of his sling, so that's a good thing.
That's true. He went through like the stretching little warm-up.
did some conditioning.
Yeah. He was at least out there during minicamp, which we had not seen.
He had been out there a
previously.
little bit, but not a ton.
Not doing that.
Not doing stretch, no.
Yeah.
And then another guy, Billy Turner, who some people presume is going to be the starting right tackle. He has not participated yet. And so you've just got some guys that are
working their way back.
But guys that are key contributors
Yeah.
that are not on the field right now. And so, we're 6 weeks away from training camp. I'll have a close eye on who ends up on the PUP list, who ends up on the NFI list, and when do those guys come back? How much do they do? Sometimes guys have setbacks too when they do come back. So, we've heard people talk about it. You can have a great quarterback. You can have a great roster. You got to get a little bit lucky with injuries. Hopefully the Broncos can get some of these guys back.
And a key contributor on special teams, Tyree Cleveland, went down. MRI came back clean, though, but that was a little bit scary. He had to get carted off the field there. So one guy, I don't know if concern is the right word to describe here, but just with Jerry Jeudy, there's a level of sort of like it's do or die time, I think, for him at this point, if you ask me. Like first 2 years in the NFL have just gone by like that, it feels like. And now all of a sudden he's in his third year. There's sort of this notion that, okay, now there's an offensive-minded head coach who's going to be opening up the playbook. Who was talking about? He was talking about it on Tuesday himself, just saying they're going to let me. They're going to send me free.
Justin said that,
or Justin said he's going to send him free. He talked about it, getting back in the end zone. I don't know who asked him about going.
That was a great question. I think was that me?
He did not score a touchdown last year. Eric.
No.
And there's this notion that, okay, now Russ is here. This is going to do huge things for Jerry Jeudy. It's time that he shows it, I would say. And, obviously he had some legal trouble earlier this offseason. He said that he's happy that it sort of figured itself or settled.
Been resolved.
Yeah, it's been resolved.
Case was dismissed.
But, it's just like, okay, I'm ready to see the Jerry Jeudy we've been waiting to see for 2 years.
Yeah.
I think there's that sort of that feel that's like, okay, now it's time that you do this.
And I think he feels the same way.
There's pressure.
He's I think frustrated that he hasn't shown his potential.
Yeah.
Because he knows how good he can be.
Yeah.
And I do think, he is the most talented offensive player, I think. Like skill player.
I agree.
And so we'll just have to see it. I'm not like in that do or die time yet, just because he does have the 5th-year option. So he has 3 more years under contract if the team wants. I would have a hard time believing they're going to let Jeudy, unless he's like terrible. I would think that he's a guy you want to keep around just because you don't want to let him go. But
I'm not saying that they're going to let him go, but it's just sort of like the guy didn't score any touchdowns last year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
He's supreme talent.
It's time to see what Jerry Jeudy can do and to have him take that next step.
Yeah.
But if he has like 800 yards and 4 touchdowns instead of 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns, I'm not going to be like, that was a disaster.
No, but if he gets in the end zone often, not a lot, but often,
it's good.
That would be good.
Well, you figure Russ typically throws somewhere between 30 to 40 touchdown passes.
Yes.
So I would think that Jerry's going to have 8 of those.
I think he needs to have more than 5 touchdowns.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just think
if he has 5 touchdowns, that means that there's like probably 6 other players that are around 5 each.
Yeah.
And I would guess that he's in the top 2 to 3 options.
I just want to see it. That's all.
Like he or Courtland is the top option on this offense.
Yeah. Maybe Alberto in the red zone, but yes.
Yeah.
But I just sort of think maybe concern isn't the right word, but there's a lot of pressure on him, I would say.
Yeah, I mean the most pressure is on Bradley Chubb.
Yeah, because this is his contract.
Because this is his contract year. He was a 5th overall pick. He's got to live up to that. He's either going to have a huge offer from a lot of teams, or they're going to franchise tag him, or he's going to have to go on a 1-year prove-it deal somewhere. So Bradley is facing the most pressure, but I agree that Jerry is facing a degree of, hey, it's time to show what you can do.
It's time. Because the talk last season was, hey, you've got a year under your belt.
Right.
Teddy is here now. There's this.
Yeah, last year was a disappointment. There's no
feel,
doubt about that.
And he just didn't do it.
Correct.
And he said multiple times that when he returned from his injury, he was 100%. He was ready to go.
Right.
So.
Well, and yeah, I mean, last year did not work from an offensive standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. Except Javante.
Yeah.
Mel. The running game was pretty good.
But I think defenses were okay to say, okay, run the ball if you want.
Yeah. The throwing.
The throwing didn't work.
Didn't work. I think it's safe to say that.
Jerry said he thinks so. He said 100% chance that this year's offensive system will help him more than last year's.
Yeah. That's 100%. That's good, right?
That's a lot of percentages.
That's not hedging.
No.
Which is what you like to do.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to our final topic here on this week's episode, and that is general takeaways from where this team is right now.
Yeah, I mean, we've touched on a lot of it, so I don't have too much more to add here. But I just think that it's clear there's a different mindset. Yep. Russ has brought a different standard to this organization. I think guys are ready to take that next step, and I think they're excited that they have the opportunity to take that step. I think there are times when, and we've heard some people talk about that, players can like kind of try to talk themselves into certain quarterbacks, or like, oh, things will be different. I think they know things are going to be different with Russ.
Yeah.
And so if you're Justin Simmons and you're like, okay, we actually have a chance now to reach the playoffs and do something, I think that only inspires you to work even harder because you know you have a chance. It's hard if you see – I'm not going to blast a particular guy, but if you see one of these offenses from one of these years and you say, man, we're going to have to be perfect to even have a chance to get in the playoffs, I think that can be draining, that can wear on you. Yeah, disheartening. Now I think Justin, Surtain, and Dre'Mont, whoever, the edge rushers, Bradley Chubb, they see this offense and they're like, okay, well, if we're good, we can be really good.
Yeah.
And so I just get that sense around this team that they know what's at stake, they know how much work they need to put in, and hopefully it pays off.
Yeah. I'd say like some of my just general takeaways, I think this Broncos secondary is going to be very good. Oh, my gosh.
No, they didn't
want to hear my takeaways.
They didn't want to hear that.
They don't want to hear my takeaways. There we go. Where was I, Eric?
Something about something.
I think the Broncos secondary is going to be very good.
Yeah.
It appears that there's a lot of depth there, and there's also the elite talent there. Like guys like Surtain and Justin are elite. I think that Darby and the Shark.
K1?
Yep. Those are nice pieces to be around there. Kareem comes back, a veteran presence there. I think that secondary, the starting unit's going to be really good. And then guys like Damari Mathis, Michael Ojemudia, there's depth there. Usain Bassi. I think that this secondary has a chance to be pretty good.
Yeah.
PJ Locke has played a little bit at safety. Caden Stearns comes back for a second year. I just think there's a chance for the secondary to be very good. I'm interested to see what happens along both lines.
Yep.
That's an area that was a takeaway, just sort of like I think things are not set, certainly not as much as I thought maybe along the offensive line. There's been a lot of shuffling. We know that Hackett said that he wants these guys to, I guess I'll say really everywhere he's shuffled guys in. There's been a lot of rotation and seeing how certain guys all fit together. So it's been like hard to be like, is that the starting line? Is this your ones? Because the group has just shuffled around a lot.
Right.
But I think that they've used a lot of different combinations. I'm interested to see what they settle on.
I mean, I would say that Garrett Bowles and Lloyd Cushenberry are pretty
Those are set.
Are secure. The guard spots have changed a lot.
A lot.
The right tackle spot has changed a lot. That's because injuries, who's been here for voluntary OTAs versus mandatory minicamp, that's changed a lot. The guard spots, I think, are the two to watch. Muti's gotten a lot of run there.
A lot.
Does Glasgow fit in somewhere?
Yeah.
You know, I do think that Quinn Miners is probably going to grab one of those jobs, but we did hear Nathaniel Hackett talk glowingly about Dalton Reisner. So, how does that all work out? That'll be a major storyline of training camp.
And same with the defensive line,
Yep.
too. I think that there's been a lot of shuffling in there. Interested to see how they settle when the dust is settled, what's going to be there.
And then, it's, again, hard to tell from an edge rusher standpoint during voluntary OTAs and mini camp and that sort of thing because there's no pads. But I'm just curious, how are they going to work this rotation?
Yeah.
Because do you want to keep Chubb and Gregory on the field for
a lot?
For 90% of the plays? Like Vic used to say, Vaughn should play 90% of the plays.
Yeah.
Or, George Payton has talked a lot about waves of pass rushers.
Yeah.
I don't think you spent a second-round pick on Nick Benito. I don't think you can afford to just keep him off the field. So interested there. And then, Melvin Gordon said he's not going to lay down.
He's not going to lay down.
Not going to lay down and just give the job to Javonte. How does that work? We saw it. We didn't really see it because he just showed up for mandatory minicamp. He said he doesn't do OTAs.
He does not do OTAs.
Yeah. Kind of. You don't really do OTAs.
I'm here for them, but I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, how does that all work out?
Yeah. I think part of it is we don't know this coaching staff very well. So we don't know their philosophies on how they really want to do things. So that is one of my other takeaways is there's a lot of coaches in positions that they've never been in before. And I'm very interested to just see how once the season gets started, how are these things are going to it's just, how does Hackett like to do timeouts or how aggressive is he in certain situations? He's never been a head coach before.
Right.
One thing we've seen from Hackett a lot is him being approaching situations from the offensive mindset. I think he called Surtain like a
pain.
A pain, instead of being like, I love that guy.
Right.
He's more – so he's coming at things from an offensive mindset. Ejiro Evero, really impressive to me.
Yeah,
just the way he
great.
carries himself. Future head coach vibes, I would say for sure.
And he's got the defense rolling right now.
Yeah. Like very similar to when Brandon Staley was here.
Yeah, I agree.
Carries himself very similar way.
Right.
A young coach, but definitely poised and really sharp, it seems like to me. But position coaches – coordinators, all in new levels for them.
Of course.
So very interested to see how it all comes together. That was another takeaway. Just like when you're watching practice, you're like, all these guys are in new positions for the first time. So could be very exciting.
Could be.
If you hit.
Could be some speed bumps, but I think that got a good core.
Good core, yeah. So that's sort of where I feel like the team is. I know you asked Hackett several times. He didn't really want to get into it, but just is this team where you are hoping the team would be at this point?
He basically just said, we're always trying to be better. We're always working to do more.
Yeah.
I just want to know. I want to know, is this more than you expected? Is this worse than you expected? Are you right on track?
Yeah.
Stooks, I think it was Stooks. Dwayne Stooks, special teams coordinator.
Stooks. Very
no.
intense.
Was it him or was it Justin Outen? One of the coordinators said that I think it was Justin Outen. I think he said that this team had learned the system better than most.
Outen said that, yeah.
During OTA. So that's kind of got him a little bit.
It said that it took him and Hackett 1 year to learn the system. But he's been surprised how fast these guys have picked it up. When the NASA scientists are around here working on things, and it's
you love the NASA.
Yeah. Heard a really good joke this week.
Yeah?
Are you ready for it?
Sure.
Shout out to Danny.
Okay.
In our kitchen staff.
Yeah.
Said that Elon Musk is going to open up a restaurant on the moon.
Oh, yeah?
Great food, but there's no atmosphere.
We should work on that.
Pretty good joke, I think.
It's,
NASA, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I got the connection.
Speaking of that, Eric, let's get the shout-out.
Let's do it.
Yeah, aside from Danny, any shout-outs that you want to get to here?
Shout out to Liz Gerald's back.
Of course.
Back in the community.
Yeah.
Just grinding
You were
away.
out in the community this week, weren't you? Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, I don't think you were.
Was I?
I don't think you were.
Oh.
I must have gotten confused.
You must have gotten confused.
Yeah. Broken brain or something like that, yeah. No, the Broncos held their 4th gun buyback session earlier I think it was last weekend.
Yep.
Collected more than 100 guns, Eric. So
turn them into garden tools.
Yes, and some art projects and stuff. Yeah. So and Tyree Cleveland was out there, lost his brother to gun violence in 2012. So a personal cause for him.
Yeah.
That's why he wanted to be out there. I was out there, Eric.
Nice.
They heated up the gun and then you bang it with a hammer. I did it.
You take a video of the hammering.
I did.
You have some experience there.
Hammering.
Taking videos of people hammering.
Yeah. Only really good.
Only really good hammering.
Like, poof, hammer.
Right. Yeah. One hit. Boom.
One hit. Boom. Done. That's my expertise.
Any other shout-outs?
Kind of
a quiet week.
Yeah, it was a little bit quiet. I was just expecting a lot of voicemails, so that's why this has sort of been a little bit weird.
Tough.
It's been a little bit weird. Yeah. Let's get back to some voicemails, huh? 707 neutral.
That's right.
And now that the off-season program is over, Eric, finally we can get to sending out some stickers.
Oh, can't wait.
Some stickers. Metembali, I think one's coming to you. So, yeah. Anything else you'd like to get to?
I don't think so.
The off-season program is done, but the neutral zone rolls on.
Rolls on.
There's really no dead period for the neutral
There's
zone.
never an off-season.
For talking Broncos.
For talking neutral zone.
Oh, maybe a shout-out to the Avalanche.
Oh, yeah.
They're beginning their Stanley Cup run here tonight.
Yeah, by the time people listen to this, the Avs will be up 1-0.
Okay, Eric, I was saying, in the sport of hockey, people tend to be very superstitious.
Okay, the Avs will be down 1-0.
Okay. No, I'm not saying that.
Oh, sorry.
We'll just say we're interested to see what happens.
We're interested to see what happens.
Yeah. This is a sport that's very superstitious and a little bit. Yeah, so we got to be very careful.
Okay.
But we do want to shout out the Avs beginning their run. Exciting to have so much media attention on the Avs.
Yeah.
Their little media day. The Stanley Cup was there.
No.
Yeah, that's a lot of
cup.
Some heat radiated off of that. Maybe something we can talk about next week is just like the Cup versus the Lombardi.
Oh. Yeah, we're stretching already.
We'll have some countdown to camp stuff too.
Yeah.
I don't want to give away.
Don't spoil it.
Yeah, we got a lot coming up. So until then, Eric, that's going to do it for this week's episode. For Eric Dalal, I'm Phil Milani. You've been listening to
The Neutral Zone.